Hi guys, welcome to the Art of Healing podcast. I'm your host Pearls,
And I'm Paris.
and today we're going to be talking about how to be authentically you.
So let's get into it. So I guess just to start off with, how do you be authentically you? Or what does that mean to you?
I think being authentically you for me is showing up in the world as I am,
Mm,
how I choose to be,
yeah.
saying things with my chest, taking up space, still being me even if I know it's inconvenient to be me,
Mm,
because that's not really my problem. That's like
their problem.
your problem. And yeah, just saying, just tapping into who I am and being not being afraid to express that. So whatever that looks like for you, for me, that would look like dressing how I want to dress, talking how I want to talk, saying what I want to say, speaking my mind all the time,
Mhm,
and not being afraid and not being shy about anything to do with me, and
mhm.
just wearing it on my sleeve. Like, this is how I am, this is who I am, and this is how it's going to be. And if you don't like me, that's okay.
It's
You
like
don't
taking
have to
a
like me.
it's like taking a take it or leave it stance, isn't it?
Exactly.
But when you kind of outline what authenticity means or to be authentically you, of course, the definition of it is unique to every person, of course,
Mhm.
but there are snippets of, like, for what you said, for example, which I'm sure we can all resonate with and say, hey, that applies to me too. That the problem isn't understanding what authenticity is. It's about, how do you be authentic, or why am I not being authentically me? Why am I
Mm.
not showing up in the world? Because sometimes we know these things, but we're not doing it. And I guess that's even more so, is the question is why.
So yeah, I think if what I said made you feel a certain way, then I guess that's a sign that actually yes, that's triggering something in you. And I guess for a lot of people, not being authentically themselves stems from lots of things.
Mm-hmm.
It could stem from childhood trauma.
Mm-hmm.
It could stem from being conditioned by their parents.
Mm-hmm.
It can stem from being conditioned by their environment, their
Mm-hmm.
friends, relationships.
Yeah.
So I think there's lots of factors as to why people might not be authentically them.
Yeah.
And I think as well, especially in this day and age, especially for women, more so, there is such a standard to achieve
Mm-hmm.
that everyone's trying to achieve a particular standard, whether it's looks, intelligence, career, whatever. So you end up chasing these things thinking, hey, this is the right thing to
Yeah,
do,
yeah,
but
yeah. It's
it's not
true.
authentically you.
And this is the thing. I think when it comes to being authentically you, half of the hurdle is actually, oh, we think that it means going to be ourselves, but the person that we're actually showing up as isn't us anyway. So to be authentically you isn't you. So it's like, all right, let's wear the clothes that I want to wear. Let me act this way and do these things. You're probably doing these things because you think that's how you should act and behave. But if you actually ask yourself the question as to, like, why do I think this way? Why do I dress this way? Why do I feel
Mm,
this way? The answer is usually because of, like you said, the conditioning, the programming, the friends that you have, the relationships, the work that you do, like all these
mm,
things shape the person that we show up as. But just because we're showing up as that person doesn't mean that that's who we are. That's the mask that we're wearing
yeah.
to fit in. And that's half of the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also as well, a really basic example of like people not being authentically them is like when you go to uni because you think you're supposed to go to
Yeah,
uni and
guilty.
you don't actually want to go to uni, or the topic that you've done isn't actually something you're interested in. You're just doing it because it's a good idea, or you'll
Hmm.
get a good job, or good reasons to do something. Well, most of them. But it's not you. If it's not
Mm.
something that you truly desire, then you're not being you.
Yeah.
You're chasing something that isn't for you.
And this is where people have we've spoke about before, midlife
Mm,
crises and things like that,
exactly.
because they live decades of their lives as this person they think they should be, rather than the person that they actually are on the inside. And it gets to the point where they're like, oh, my life is a lie. I've
Mm,
been doing and living and behaving in a way that isn't true to me. And that feeling is always there. There's this little feeling in your gut, somewhere in the pit of your stomach, that is nagging at you saying, hey, this isn't what you want to be doing. This isn't
yeah.
for you. We all have it. If you can tune into it, great. Trust me, I know, because I've felt it
Mm,
many times, like the university thing. At the time, I thought I wanted to go to university, but now I'm a lot older and I look back, I wanted to go to university to make my parents proud.
yeah.
I, I did that for them, to make them happy. I hated university. I hated education. At least the
The
stuff that
traditional stuff.
in the tradition. I love learning. I love I love educating myself. I hate the education system. It's flawed in so many ways. University was just the epitome of that, because, like, you don't get to really follow your passion, at least if you don't choose the subject that you want to do,
Mm,
unless it's something that you really want to do. Why are you doing it?
yeah.
For someone or something else? But if it's not for something that you truly want to do, here it comes, that's not you being authentic to you, is it?
Yeah. And I think a lot of the time as well, like when we're going against what our actual desire is, it's signaling to our body that we're disconnected from it.
Mm-hmm.
We're like kind of lying to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So your body stops trusting you.
Mm-hmm.
So then people will get things like anxiety, depression, and you start having these mental health issues. And a lot of the time it's because we're just not living the life that serves us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as well, for a lot of people, a lot of this starts in childhood because, to fit in, to do the right thing is to be safe.
Yeah.
And safety is obviously paramount.
Mm-hmm.
The way we're wired is to be safe, to survive, to make it through the world.
Yeah.
It's not to take risks and adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Although those things are appealing, but like we're not wired that way. We're wired to do things that keep us safe. So traditionally you do the things that the people before you have done because there's safety in the path that's already been created for you.
That's it. Going the untrodden path. It spells danger to the nervous system.
Absolutely.
That's why it's so hard to start, go after your dreams, start that business, change careers, leave the relationship that you know you shouldn't be in, because these things to the nervous system are the unknown. But is the life that you live in authentically you? The answer is probably no. So I think one of the questions that we have to ask ourselves when we're moving forward and when we're doing stuff is always ask, something that I always practice is asking why. Why do I want to do this? Why am I doing this? Why am I thinking this? Because those questions, asking why, gives you, as long as you're honest with yourself, will give you the answer. And whenever my answer is I'm doing it because of something or someone else, I don't take action. I change what I'm thinking, or I change what I'm feeling, because I know at that point I'm being influenced. And there's nothing wrong with being influenced in a way to help you make a decision. But if it's making the decision for you, you're being led by someone else. And this, again, is how you get led down the wrong paths. You start doing things that aren't conducive to being your authentic self. And you get lost in the person who you are, because the person that you are is shaped by everyone else's opinions, everyone else's thoughts, everyone else's beliefs, everyone else's idea of what your life should be.
Yeah.
And we get sucked, like you said, we get sucked into that very early on, even from our parents. And then when we go to school, what do you get taught at school? You get taught to get good grades, get a very good job, get a career. Like, that's cool. Do those things, but do it in the realm of what you actually want to do. Don't just get a career for the sake of it because being told that you need to get a secure job and earn money and do all these things. That is you just ignoring what you want to do. And for a lot of people, especially the more creative people, that kind of path is hell, because we're not built that way. Do you know what I mean? And I've forced myself for most of my life to take the path of get a career, get a job, when I had neglected and didn't even believe that I was a creative person until, very recently I started tapping into this stuff and realized, hey, I'm actually more, I would say, a creative than I am an academic almost. And it's like, I can only imagine how many other people are living that way. And to be honest, I think everyone at heart is creative. We just don't tap into what that creativity means to us.
I think as well, I think a lot of the time, especially like through the education system, if you look at it, it's not really designed for you to find your passion. It's designed for you to do what they think you should be doing. And in that, there is no path where you can really start wondering, hey, what would I like to do in my life? You get to 18 and it's like, you've got to pick what university you're going to and what you're studying. And I feel like that's quite a big commitment at such a young age, because you don't know. Like, I've changed my mind 100 times since I left school about what I want to do and how I want to do it and what I'm passionate about. And it's a constant journey where you're constantly learning.
And it goes back to what we were saying the other day about, if you're growing and you're learning, then you're living. But if you're not doing these things, and really you're staying the same and you're slowly dying, you're just waiting for the day that your days end, right? So part of, living your life is things are going to change. You're going through seasons, you are experiencing and learning new things. So to have this idea of like, right, I'm going to finish school and this is what my life is going to be, is not only misinformed, it's ignorant. It's like you can't know for sure what your life is going to be. And also you can't have that much of your life planned out, but we're taught that we should know it almost, and we should have this great idea of, when I leave school, I'm going to be this.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes to, when we're younger, if, for example, somewhere in your environment or the people around you have made you feel like you can't be you, it's easy to fit you into a path like that. It's easier to mold you into doing the things that you're supposed to do. So, for example, if you're, for whatever reason, your expression in some way was stifled, if you were told not to speak your voice. I think a lot of the time as well, like when we're trying to argue our case as kids, we're told not to chat back. And actually we're using our voice. But what happens is a lot of the time, we're told not to talk back, but we're not told how to talk back.
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if you're not taught how to talk back, then what happens is in other areas of your life, you're not speaking up. You're
Yeah.
not saying the things that you need to be saying. You're not using your chest to say what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's another way that a lot of people like lose their expression, by not saying what they mean, by not saying what they think and what they feel.
Yeah.
And also, you know, a lot of the time it turns into people pleasing for some people. Like kind of what you're saying, you know, I went to uni to please my parents or to make them happy. So that's how it transpires. So we have to, I guess, take a look back to where did this start? And why is it that way? And actually, let's assess how we are as an adult. And I guess the question is, who reigns your self-expression? Who is in charge of what you do and how you express yourself? Because, for example, even as something as like small as I'm going to post a picture on Instagram, or I'm going to put a story up, or I'm going to do X, Y, Z, and you think, oh, but what will so-and-so think? Or you have that feeling in you of like, oh, like dread, but it's not because of you, it's because of someone else. And that kind of shows you're too focused on what other people think about you. And that is stifling your expression. That's stifling who you are and what you want to be. You know, I spoke about this in the last episode that like I didn't dress a certain way to avoid upsetting one of my friends because she felt I had very centric style and she was a bit plainer, and I would dress smaller to make her feel bigger. But the reality is, if in any way, shape or form, you're having to make yourself small to make someone big, that is a problem. You should not in what you say, not in what you do, not in how you are, not in how you dress. Yeah, the way I see it is, is like a bit of a new thought and attitude I've started to develop, because even though I think like, oh, I'm actually really comfortable being me and comfortable expressing myself, but I was only doing that a couple of years ago. But the thing that I think now is, if people can't digest you, let them choke.
I love that. Say it again.
If people can't digest you, let them choke.
Yeah.
Like, choke on it. It's not really my problem. You should not feel a certain way about walking into a room and trying to make yourself feel small. You should not feel shy about being who you are and expressing yourself. And, you know, even to like wearing what you want to wear and saying what you want to say. These are all forms of expression. You know, we do vocal activation. We spoke about this earlier on our chat with Babs.
Yeah.
And we do vocal activation on our TikTok lives on Fridays. And so many people often say like, oh, I feel it really weird making these sounds, or like singing along, or like growling or grunting. And what I always say is, if you're feeling shy just singing along to a song or growling or grunting, that shows me you're also shy in other areas of your life where you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be shy about your expression.
No,
you shouldn't be shy about
ever.
taking up space. You shouldn't be shy about saying what you mean, dressing how you feel. And you definitely shouldn't be worrying about anyone else and what they think of you. Because I think the reality is, everyone on earth is so self-centered that no one is actually really caring about you. Nobody's looking at you. No one's even concerned about what you're doing, because everyone is so worried about what are they doing and how do they look and how are they being perceived. And the reality is, nobody cares.
Yeah. It's like, go to a shopping center right now, get in the middle where it's the busiest, jump on the floor and shout and scream. I bet you the majority of people won't even look at you. And for the people that do, they'll glance at you and then carry on. No one's going to care what you're doing. No one's going to pay attention to you other than just a quick, you're actually disturbing my time. What are you doing? All right. And then that's it. Do you know what I mean? It's like you said, everyone else is their own main character in their own stories, but we're so obsessed with what other people think that it actually begins to control and influence how we live life, not realizing that we don't need to care what people think, because they don't care. And it's so freeing once you actually admit and realize that, hey, these people don't care.
I think there's categories as well as to like why we don't express ourselves, or why we don't show up authentically ourselves. I think one thing is like, you're influenced by something that happened in your childhood or earlier on in your life. It keeps you feeling like you need to be small to be safe, because to not be seen is safety. And obviously our bodies are designed to keep us safe, so we keep ourselves small. That's one way. Another thing is, it could be because you don't want to upset someone with your success or with your expression, so you keep yourself small. You think, oh, I don't want to, for example, you've got female friends, so you don't want to share something good that's happened because they're not experiencing the same happiness that you are. For example, if you get into a really healthy relationship and you're really happy about it, but your your friend is currently single and not that happy, and she's probably not going to be happy for you, so you feel like, I'm not going to share that. First of all, if the case is she's not going to be happy for you, probably shouldn't have her as a friend.
Facts.
But you should never feel like you can't share something joyous or something exciting in your life. And again, we talk about this on the lives.
Yeah.
When we're doing somatic shaking, for example, we're releasing stress, tension, and trauma from the body. And a lot of the time, people have emotional releases.
Yeah.
And when they're having these emotional releases, people associate emotional releases as like, I'm going to be crying or angry. But actually, also, a lot of the time, people feel extreme joy, extreme happiness. They're laughing. Exactly. And why?
Because the joy is coming out. Because the same way we don't process the, let's label them negative emotions, we also have positive emotions that we don't express as well. And this is where it comes into this whole like, where's your creative expression? Like, where's your play? Where's your fun? Where's your enjoyment in life? There's probably points in your life where you were having fun and you were feeling joy and you were feeling happiness, but because you were feeling, say, sad at the time or angry, you actually suppress those feelings that are more desirable from coming up to the surface. So like you said, when you start doing somatics, it's not just the bad emotions that come out, the good ones come out as well.
Yeah.
And it just makes you realize like how much of our lives have we been going through without actually feeling in the present moment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think, so I mentioned 2 ways that like we suppress our expression. I think the third way is actually our own internal voice. We keep ourselves small.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have this. They have this like internal critic in their mind. They're like, I'll give you an example. For example, you might be getting dressed. So the standard of beauty on social media and actually just real life is ridiculous now. Like everyone's chasing this like AI beauty. That's what I call it, AI beauty.
I like that,
It doesn't exist. And a lot of the time, something that women experience is like, oh, I don't look skinny enough in this, or I don't look pretty enough in this, or I don't look this and this. I promise you, if you wear what you want to wear, that no one on this earth will think twice about how you looked in something. They will forget about it, because never in my life have I ever remember someone that looked bad in something, that was like a little bit overweight, that was a little bit this, that was a little bit that. Because you don't think about those things. You don't care.
The only time you really care is when you see someone and they look great in something, and then you remember that they look great.
That person had a great outfit. So the only person that cares about those things is you. It's in your head.
So wear what you want, do what you want, be who you want.
Exactly. And I also feel like this is something that we're really learning, is that the more we're tapping into who we are, the more we're shedding the people that don't align with us. And the more that we're expressing ourselves authentically and being authentically us, the more we are attracting people, opportunities, and things that actually align with who we are and where we want to go and who we want to be. And that's the reality of it. Who wants fake friends anyway? And fake people around you and fake opportunities that don't actually serve you, and ended up on a career path or a situation that actually you're going to be miserable about in 10 years' time anyway. Guilty, have done it.
Yeah.
But, you know,
sometimes still do, because it's normal too. You're not always going to be perfect at being authentically you.
Exactly. You know, I had a job for years. I did a whole thing for years and thought, yeah, I'm going to do this. And actually, really, it made me really depressed. I was really unhappy, and I wasn't being honest to what I wanted and who I actually am. And I think, you know, the internal critic in your voice, the internal critic in your head is the third reason that people keep themselves small from expressing themselves. And they overthink it. They overthink like what they should be doing, how they should be doing it, how they should show up. Think, what am I going to say when I walk into that room? How should I appear when I walk into that room around those people at this situation? So yeah, I think, you know, fuck that inner critic. Tell him, thank you for your opinion. Goodbye, sir.
And this is the thing. I think a lot of people overthink every scenario without realizing that overthinking is anxiety.
Yes.
Okay, let's not label it as such. Let's label what it is. Your body's keeping you safe because you're stuck in a stress response where it needs to analyze, hey, is this decision I'm going to make going to cause me harm or danger? So let me analyze every single outcome, overthink every scenario to the point of going over it again and still not being satisfied, because the body's just stuck in the stress response of, hey, I need to figure everything out. We don't realize that, that's the case, and we need to become undysregulated, and come out of that state. So one of the key things is that if you are overthinking, that's a sign that you are stuck in stress. That's how do we come out of it is the thing, or how do we even you realize that we're in it in the first place? We need to pay attention to how we're feeling, and more so in those times what we're thinking as well. If what you're thinking is causing an emotion with you, which we would say is a bit heavier, you're feeling off, you're starting to feel fearful, that's anxiety. If what you're feeling is filling you with excitement, if it's making you feel calm, at peace, that's your awareness. Let's call it your higher self. There's two different paths of thinking. One is going to help you, the other one is keeping you stuck, right? But when we want to be ourselves, when we're trying to be ourselves, there's this conflict of, okay, I want to be this person, or I want to show up as this person, I
Mm.
want to change the way that I'm being, but I'm so used to being this other person, this mask that I'm wearing, that causes dysregulation in
Yeah,
itself. So it isn't as easy as being like, okay, just be your authentic self, start doing stuff
absolutely.
that
Yeah.
you enjoy, start saying it and speaking with your chest. It is a practice, and it starts from starting small. It starts from doing this every single day, and that's why I interjected earlier and said, like, yeah, sometimes we still slip up on this because
Absolutely. Yeah.
because
We're still learning.
yeah, and you won't ever be perfect to this. Being authentic self is allowing yourself to make mistakes as well, because the
Mm.
authentic version of you allows yourself to try things and mess up rather
Yeah.
than overthinking it. So you have to just allow it to happen whilst still practicing, like, hey, back to the wise thing, why am I doing this? Is it for me? Is it for someone else? Sort of thing. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think we have to get really comfortable with ourselves, with making mistakes, with people not liking us,
Yeah,
with people talking
absolutely.
about us. Everyone who's ever achieved anything great or done anything revolutionary, let's call it, a lot of these people, they're just being authentically them and chasing their
Mm,
dreams and doing what they want. Someone's always going to have something to say.
hmm.
So, I think it's about just getting comfortable with the reality of that situation. Someone's always going to be talking about something. Someone's always going to have an opinion.
Hmm.
Someone's always going to be doing something.
Yeah.
you know so I think it's about just getting comfortable with being who you are, being okay with making mistakes, being okay with people talking about you, or being in a group chat, because that's the price of greatness. That's the price
Mm,
of choosing a great life and choosing what you want to do and choosing where you want
100%.
to go.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay. And I think the other thing as well is that even with like boundaries, for example, you can't set boundaries and have everyone be happy about it.
Never.
So you're always going to piss someone off by having a boundary. You are.
Yeah.
People are going to get pissed off because people don't like boundaries. But you have to get comfortable doing it for your own benefit and for your own authenticity and for your
Mhm.
own desires. How I was talking about people pleasing earlier.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, people just say, yes, sir, 3 bags full, sir. I'll do
Get
whatever you
on
want,
with it. Yeah.
sir. And what is that doing in your body? You're lying to your body. Your body knows you're telling a lie here by
Mhm.
saying, yes, I want to do this, when truly the answer is, no, you don't want to do this.
Mhm.
So it's creating dysregulation in your body because you're creating a disconnect. So the
Mhm.
best thing that you can do for yourself is be honest about yourself, be okay with making mistakes, be okay with people talking about you, not liking you, upsetting people. It's okay. It's not that big of a
Yeah.
deal. People will get over it.
They will.
And if they don't, that's their business.
It is honestly just about becoming unapologetically you. And if anything of what we're saying is sounding like a lot and you're thinking, oh my God, this is overwhelming. Like I realize I'm not being authentically me, but this just sounds like, how the hell am I going to start all this? I
If
was
this is triggering you, basically.
Yeah, because it is a whole thing. It is telling your nervous system, hey, like, you got to change, but your nervous system like, no, I don't want to. Like, I want to stay the same. I think, like, I hope that what I'm about to say is going to help you, because I think when I was getting into this journey of being authentic, I realized that there was a lot of things where I really wasn't being me, but I
Mm,
found almost grounding in finding this one place where I was being authentically me, and I kind of grew out from that. And when I look back throughout my life, one thing where I was always me is I always wore what I wanted to wear. I grew up in Essex, where it was a lot of designer clothes and polo shirts and designer trainers and things like that. But
a lot of copy and paste outfits.
yeah,
From pictures I've seen, I can confirm it's very interesting
everyone,
phenomenon.
yeah, everyone wore the same clothes. Everyone had comb overs, and of course, for you all that can't see me, I've got an afro, so I can't have a comb over. So anyway, I always would wear what I wanted to wear no matter what, and it's something that my mum actually taught me. She said, just wear what makes you happy, and that's something that I've always embraced, and that's been a part of me. But when it came to realizing, hey, I'm not being myself here, like, what's going on, I realized that, hey, I am being myself, just not completely myself.
Mm.
So rather than panicking and being, oh my God, I need to change everything, I'd kind of just noticed places, because there were more as well, where I was being me. And then I just grew outwards from there. Okay, these are the places where I am. How could I even more so amplify that? How can I lean more into, like, wearing what I want to wear, for example? And then other areas, okay, where am I not being me? Why is that? How can I change it? So wherever you are in life, find that little pocket where you are being you,
Mm.
and let that be the place that you grow outward from. And I promise you it'll be a lot easier.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I love that.
Thanks.
Because, yeah, it's a process. It's not going to happen overnight. It is going to take a while. You are undoing dysregulation.
Yeah.
You are creating regulation in the body. Something else that I would recommend is, if you are listening to this, it resonates with you and you're like, wait, what else can I do? I mentioned it earlier in the podcast. We do vocal activation on Fridays. If you're able to come on Friday at 6 p.m., we'll show you what it's all about. if you're not able to come, what I essentially will encourage you to do is start taking up space with your voice. Now, if you're thinking like, oh, I don't really want to do that, what I would recommend is put on a song, hum along to it.
Hmm.
And when you get comfortable, sing along to it and get comfortable using your voice, get comfortable hearing your voice. And I know it sounds like a very small thing. Obviously, on our vocal activation on the lives, we do it slightly differently. You can hum if you want, you can sing along if you want, but we encourage you to growl, to grunt, to scream,
Hmm.
to be as primal as you desire to be with no judgment. And it's essentially a container for you to just express your voice in whatever way you feel. So if you're able to do that also. But this small task, this small thing will make you uncomfortable to start with. But I promise you, it's a muscle. And over time, you will start to realize, hey, I'm actually getting really comfortable doing this. But also, you'll see it transpire in other areas of your life. You'll start noticing at work, you're speaking up a little bit more. You're telling your friends, hey, I didn't like that you'd said that. Or what did you mean by that? And actually sharing your opinion if you disagree with someone. Because I think that's something a lot of people do as well. You'll just go along with people's opinions when really you don't agree with them to avoid any conflict. But you can share your opinion without it being conflict. So over time, you will start noticing, hey, this small thing that I'm doing is actually having such an impact in my wider life. So yeah, we invite you to come and join us. If not, then that's something that I also recommend that you do and see how that goes for you. Do it, do it, do it. And also as well, just one more thing. I also feel like for a lot of people that the reason that they struggle to express themselves is because we're looking to someone else for validation of expression. Like when you're a kid, you're like, is this okay, mom? Can I wear this? Dad, is this okay? Am I allowed to say this? Am I allowed to do this? And depending on like what that has been like for you, we end up growing up looking for someone else for permission to do X, Y, Z. This is a really silly example from years ago, but I remember when I was like 11 years old, maybe, and I was staying at my cousin's house and she was going to the shops in her pajamas. And I remember being like, are you not going to change? And she was like, no, I saw in the magazine that Lindsay Lohan went to the shops in her pajamas. So I'm going to go to the shops in my pajamas. So if she can do it, I can do it. And I was like, but in my head thinking, well, okay, I get that. But now I'm old. I'm like, well, she could have just done that anyway. And I think that's the thing. She was looking for permission to an outside source. So if you are someone that's looking for permission, I give you permission to be whoever you want, however you want, in your most authentic self. So go do it. You got this.